I promise we're gonna get out of the rabbit hole here with AI, but I have one more for you that was
Let's
amazing
hear
for
it.
me. One of the early days. So this is early days, and I'm an early adopter of things. So I just I at the time was self-teaching myself to code in Python. I just decided to
Mhm.
take it, and I'm taking it. So I'm doing these things. Took a project, wanted to make it interesting, so was kind of coding a trading strategy using Python, and had a problem. Guess what? Went into GPT, started saying, but it was the paranoia days where I don't know who's listening, who is not, and what they're doing. So I
Right.
basically explained everything I was doing without using terms like trading, stock,
Right.
sell, buy, nothing.
Welcome to Sharpen the Spear podcast, where we help manufacturing executives command the front and win the floor. I'm Richard Walsh, creator of the Sharpened Impact methodology, and I spent decades helping leaders transform frontline teams, unlock hidden profit, and capture capacity they didn't even know they had. If you want to see where your leadership gaps are costing you and how to fix them, head over to grittolead.com and run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator today. Let's sharpen your edge and get started. And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with another incredible guest. I've got Rafael Pinho with us. Rafael, no one knows Rafael better than Rafael. Rafael, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed, and let's get into the conversation.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me on. Well, I'll try to do make it short and sweet as much as I can because the story is long. You can see the white hairs. I try to cut them off so people don't see them as much, but they're there. They're showing up. Um, Story is interesting. It starts with me being an engineer that never changed a light bulb. So I'm actually an electrical engineer that straight out of school went into finance. So back in the day, you're probably pricking the accent. I'm Brazilian, and in Brazil, and it's very telling what happens next. There was no good jobs for electrical engineer when I was graduating, so I end up working for an investment bank. Guess what? 1 year later, Brazil has a massive energy shortage. We were rationing energy, and this is 2001, 2002. Would you believe that? But yes, we actually had to save energy at home because the country had no energy. Fast forward, worked a few good years. The investment bank I used to work with, they had a little system where pretty much they must have inspired in the Marines or something. You had boot camp years, so you work your off at the back office for about 3 years, and if you survived, then they'll give you a chance at the front office. So I survived, got a chance to move to the front office, help them with equity research. That was my passion. I fell in love with it, fell in love with analysis, and was blessed. Great capital market cycle in Brazil between 2004 and 2012-ish. And I rode that wave like very few. So was hired to do investment research. Did that. There was a new commodity in town at the time, which was called real estate stocks. Brazil had zero real estate stocks as I started as an analyst, and by the time I left, we were like 30 plus. So, and I've done a lot of those IPOs, about $5 billion of those. Um, I actually worked about 6 years during that tenure for Morgan Stanley. So, based out of São Paulo, serving the New York desk here, helping to list IPOs across Latin America. So, I helped IPOs in Brazil, Mexico, Chile, Argentina, you name it. I was there, hopping on planes and, and being around, talking to investors, trying to explain why would you bring money out of US into emerging markets? But we were pretty successful then. At some point, that game became boring. I wanted to get closer to the action. I mean, spreadsheets are great, but there's so much you can do with them. And got an opportunity in private equity. So there was a private equity fund who needed someone to help them with fundraising, deal making. They were sourcing deal by deal, and I joined them. to work with a great friend and mentor at the time, Leandro Busquet. The guy hired me, offered me a job, and it was a great opportunity. Um, 4 years into it, I realized that when you're trying to fundraise 10-year capital in a country that, in the space of 4 years, had three different presidents and four impeachment proceedings, Brazil wasn't the stable place for private equity money. So I was like, well, maybe this has no long-term benefit for me. Decided to move on. And then the best thing happened. I got a job in a company that was super over levered with very slim profit margins. And there was the only one thing that they knew was that they were en route for bankruptcy. They that wasn't there wasn't a question about that. They just didn't know how fast. So I was hired amongst the rest of the management team to help turn it around, make it more professional. And just when we was starting to think that we knew what we needed to do, COVID hit. So can you imagine? This is a consumer product and slash retail, vertically integrated company, 2,500 employees, $75 million in revenue, and 100% of the debt is collateralized on receivables. So we depend of the retail stores to be open to have receivables. Hell of a few meetings with banks, trying to get them at bay and keep them funding us throughout those months, but it worked. And you'd be amazed by COVID. I know was a tragedy for a lot of people, millions of people, but for that company, probably the best thing that ever happened to them. He just gave the management pragmatism to make some tough decisions, but when things are normal, you just postpone some of those tough decisions. But when things get crazy as they got those days, well, he gave us just what we needed, the push that we needed to do things. So we did take some very hard measures, but pretty much closed half of the stores and did a lot of what needed to be done. And guess what? Fast forward another 4 or 5 years, come 2024, the same company came from 5 times EBITDA in debt to less than one. Banks go from avoiding my calls to calling every day and trying to have lunch and dinners, and we want to finance you now. I'm like, wow, this is new. This feels comfy. Where were you the last 4 years? But anyway, it was an interesting journey. Profit margins were up, and now morale on the employees and my colleagues and my team was at all-time highs, and it was an amazing run. Um, well, it was starting to become boring again for me. I was starting to feel like, okay, so now everything works. I need something different to do. And at that time, I got my visa to move to America. So come 2022, I've applied for a visa and I moved in with my family. We got a green card and moved mid last year. And that's when I met my business partner, Brandon Moon, who had started, which soon came to be TD Pine Advisors. And he was in a mission that's driven by his own personal experience of helping business owners to make successful transition into next generation, into selling if they want to retire out of those proceeds, into structuring the business to avoid value destruction that happens in those moments. Guess what? Now you got a finance guy getting together with masterful biz dev and operating guru, which is my partner, and we decided to start this. We started this 1 year ago, 1.5 year almost now, and it's been an amazing journey. I'm happy and excited, and every day is a different day, dealing with different businesses, different problems. So going back to my team about being bored from time to time, I'm sure I don't get any bored when what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Rafael, is the new, right? The new challenge, a new obstacle to overcome and stuff. There's certain people, I'm like this, you're like this, obviously. That's where you really thrive. right? And you understand that.
Yes,
So I think like you said, you found a niche now that requires that daily, right? Because you get a diverse group of people to work with, right? You're not working with one particular vein, right? Is that it? So the businesses are different, so the problems are going to be different. Though in general, when it's in business, they're usually the same problems. They just have them in a different way. So we finally, but we just had to how to fix it their way, right? So it works for them. So it's kind of fun that way. And you get to be that expert and come in and see things. I always call it outside eyes. Okay, I can come in and
exactly,
see things in your business you can't see because you're too close to it. You
exactly,
can't read
exactly.
what's on your hand when it's against your eye, right? You got to pull that away. So I think a lot of people get in that. Is that kind of what you're seeing out there?
Absolutely. And as you said it, sometimes the problem it gets to a point it feels a little bit like imposter syndrome. It can't be that simple, but people are so they're buried in the weeds and they don't
Yep.
see sometimes which are simple solutions. And for the most part, business is just good judgment, just making decisions based off data and distancing. So you made a point that is amazing. That distancing from the day to day gives you the ability to see things clearly and see things through that normally whoever is involved in the day to day, unfortunately, cannot. So, a big part of what we do is tell business owners and founders you gotta disconnect from the day to day. And it's a battle because they're like, oh, but I have to hire and it means higher expenses. I'm like, well, it's gonna pay off like two, three, four, 5 times. I cannot tell you how
Yeah.
many times if you free up time to actually think and take the initiatives and take the leadership on the things that needed to be done to grow your business, right?
Let me ask you something on that because you bring up a really good point here. So I do the same thing, right? We want them to work on what I call their 5% of the business, the 5% only they can do, that no one else can do. Everyone else can do all the other daily stuff. You can always delegate that. But the issue is, and you talked about imposter syndrome too a little bit. Do you find they're like they don't have the confidence to do that because they're good at the day to day, and there's this kind of sense of accomplishment because they're chipping away at stuff, even though they're chipping away at a tree that's never going to fall down. Okay, so they're going to be swinging the axe forever. But to get them to step back, is that become a real kind of challenge for you, a mindset shift? I mean, kind of how are you dealing with that? Is it kind of going to mindset, but at the same time giving them an example of what they're seeing? Because you can see something like I do. I go and I see it like, well, how do you see that? I go, because I'm not emotionally attached to this.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
have that connection. So I can look at it very objectively where they can't. Do you struggle with that with them a lot as well?
A lot because so most founders, right? Let's forget the startup type founder. Let's
Right,
think traditional businesses, the ones that you see every day. Most of those founders, they started out of some passion. So
right,
I'm passionate about manufacturing. So I want to make the best
right.
tool to industry X and X. And they set about doing that. And eventually they do. And that's what they love doing. So ask them to be a business owner and to detach and not do that and not think just about that. That's a challenge. That's a
Right.
shift, which is but at some point, they got to understand they will have to evolve because they become the limiting factor behind the business.
There it is.
They become the deck to for that is seems like the business will never transpose, right? So we have a client that would come in and he's a blessing. Texas is a blessing as a place, I'll tell you. And uh, that guy, as he came in, I'm saying this on the record, so I'm probably gonna regret it. At some point, we got thinking, do we really charge to do this? That we should be paying this guy because it's such a great client. Unfortunately, I cannot say the name under NDA and all, but off the bat, he goes, I want to get rid of the day to day. I know I'm the limiting factor. I know I need a system. I just don't know how to figure this out. Can you guys help me? And that day is like, I want to work for this guy for free. and,
Yeah.
and at some point, we're dealing with getting an agreement in place. And I went into the meeting. I so want to make sure that we are not, this doesn't become like just a pricing conversation because I want to work with this individual. And guess what? A few months into it, it's been a blessing and amazing every day when you find someone like that. But
Yep.
you and I know that's by far the exception, not the rule. And the reality is, yes, at some point you just need to let go of the day to day, of that. It's not that you have to let go of your passion. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
All I'm saying is that if you want the result of all your passion and your delivery to reach more people, right? Either you hire an executive to do that for you or you do it yourself if there's no place to hire that person. Because otherwise you're gonna limit. You're not gonna grow beyond you.
Yeah, it's so true. I I got the three things I said, but you want to automate, delegate, and eliminate. Okay. Those are like three kind of principles you want to do in a business. But I get to eliminate, and I'm like, that includes you, the owner. You need to eliminate you from the day to day, get out of this stuff. You need to be doing way bigger things. What I do, Raphael, is I try to pitch them on thinking bigger. You've built a business, you might have a, 40 million, $50 million a year manufacturing business. Okay. And you're still literally like tinkering with machines and stuff out there, right? You're doing stuff because you love it. But we need to say, okay, you've done this on your own. You got people, everything else. You're still in it. Imagine what you can do. Like, let's think big. Where could this go? Where do you really want it to go? Like you can do that by automating, delegating, but then eliminating your position. Get to that 5% we talked about. Get up above it. Look down. You're going to start to see all new things, and you're going to take the ceiling you have now, and you're going to blow it off, right? And you're going to be able to grow to whatever, and your whole life will be different, and you'll be doing this because you like want to, and it'll be fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
I want to share a real life example and a story and a principle about this. So the real life story comes from Brandon, from my business partner. He was growing the family business. He has that experience, and as he was doing it, at some point he realized he was the ceiling. He was the deck. He always tells a story. I said about one of my employees actually gave me the CV of this guy. He said was an awesome guy. I talked to him. I hired him. He became the COO, if you will,
Mhm.
of the business. Guess what? The business grew 60% the next year organically, just because that Brandon stopped being the go-to person for everything,
Right.
including brewing coffee for the office. So it just became like he was a limiting factor. As soon as he hired that one guy, 60%. I we don't have to know a lot about math to know that that hire has paid
Right.
itself off. The
Right.
ultimate job of a leader, that's the principle, is to work itself out of a job, right?
That's right.
If you're a true leader, you want to make sure that you're preparing a strong bench and people that you can delegate. And the key problem is normally that trust to be able to delegate. So delegate if you feel like they are able to do at least 80% the task with 80% of the quality you can. Because if it's at least 80%, it's not going to be a disaster. That's your sweet spot to delegate, and then try to elevate them
Right.
in the 20% that is left to get there, right?
Yeah, leaders, the great leaders create more leaders. You can
Hmm.
delegate, but you also want to create more leaders. You can call working yourself out of a job or whatever it is, but really you want to get out there making those other leaders. And you're exactly right. I have this conversation often too with owners. Like, if someone can do it to, you say 80%, I'm like, hey, because I always give it to the owner that you're the best. Okay, you're the best doing what you do. And that's totally okay. I agree with you,
Absolutely.
but you can't grow a business that way. If someone can come in and they're 90, 95% as good as you, here's another thing. Your customers aren't going to really know the difference. Just being honest. Okay. I remember, so I'm a steel sculptor, right? Did all this great world class stuff and everything. I didn't care what the average person thought about my art. I wanted the guy who knows how to do what I do to tell me it's stinking incredible because I'm judged by a peer, right? I'm showing something like, man, I could never do that. Oh man, that makes me feel good, right? Because you got skills. Like I can never do it. You do what I do. But if they can just let go of that and then train them up, like you said, bring them up that last 5 or 10%, get them skilled up so they can. And the second kind of second part of that too, Raphael, what I've seen, and people need to know this when you're in that position and you want to delegate. The problem is they tell someone to do something, but they don't have a structure for them to do it in. They don't have a system, they don't have a process. They just say, take this over and figure it out. That is total disaster, right?
Yeah.
Because people need the guardrails, they need a process, need a system. Drop it in because I have this saying, and it's called everybody leaves. Okay. So anyone who works for you is going to leave
Mm-hmm.
at some point, and you have to replace that person. And the new person doesn't want to get dropped into chaos. Okay. They want to drop in the system so they can win every day. So like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, when our owners learn these things and they create a place to put these people they want to delegate to, they can show them how to win on the day, the week, the month, the year, right? So that's what
Yes.
makes a great transition. And then once they see that, that's what gives the owner the confidence to really let go and delegate more. But they have to be able
Yes.
to drop them in a system because so many don't. Then say, "See, I should have never done that." They totally drop the
Uh,
ball. So you know,
why you're telling this, I was I'll transported to my boot camp days at the bank when I worked in this 4 people unit,
Mhm.
and this team of four, in a matter of less than 2 years, we had a full stack of people be approved to the whole front office gig. And the secret of that team was a 3 page piece of paper, believe it or not. So our SOP was a horrible 3 page piece of paper that detailed everything that needed to be done and how. And each time someone upgraded the system, someone would go with their pencil there and write it there. So you can imagine how that thing looked. However, for every chair that were set, those the four of us like in front of each other. Each time someone was promoted, I would move to the next chair. The 3 page piece of paper would be in front of me. I knew exactly where to go,
That's it.
and I would update it and pass it along. And I remember that when I was promoted, someone asked me, "Man, why does your team? They're always putting people for promotion and they don't fall apart, they keep going." It was as simple as the crappy three
That's
page
right.
piece of paper. But nowadays, well, bringing fast forwarding it 20 plus years, getting old, the the price of doing things like that today just dropped to near zero, because you can
Exactly.
snap a picture of the 3 page piece of paper, put it on ChatGPT, ask, can you please type it nicely for me? Or you can record a video. The price for media and recording and equipment just dropped to near zero. Everybody has a phone, right? So
Yep.
record yourself doing the task if you want to train someone and just give it to them. Say
Yeah.
if they don't care enough to watch a few minutes video to learn an absolute important task for their day to day, then they probably shouldn't be in that position. So
Yeah. The technology is there. Loom recording, screen recordings. You can do everything
eh,
click by click. You can show people and put it into a little bank. I have all our people do that. Just create a library and I make them be like no more than a minute. 1 minute
yeah,
is the max in your video, a very specific title on what it is. So they're not searching. They go right to that, watch only that, get back to work. Okay. So you don't want to be
yeah,
scrolling through and repeating a 5 minute video on stuff. So you're right. The technologies today, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using, they're all amazing for that kind of stuff. And they're not
absolutely,
replacing people, they're enhancing their ability to do bigger things.
yeah,
So they're
yeah,
taking out the tedious that we all have to do, I'm air quoting have to do, where they actually don't have to do it anymore. They can focus on doing bigger things in the business, achieving more for the business, right? By utilizing these simple tools that are now commonplace or getting very close to that and improving every day. So just like you're saying, the usage of these tools that I talk about this a lot with AI and everything else because we utilize it a lot, but it doesn't matter what the business is. Like I do with a lot of my all my construction clients. What are they doing with that? Do you know how much routine everyday stuff you have to do from estimating and selling and books and that stuff all can be automated. That's the
yes,
automate part before delegate. Like you do
Yeah,
that and free those people up to do something that matters, that maybe they're more excited about and they want to come to work and do. Okay. I'm all
yes,
about increasing, expanding the experience of my people, having a better experience
absolutely.
at work every day. If I can take a tool like AI and we can push this across the board and eliminate that from them, ooh, I'm telling you what, there's a lot more smiles around the table. I'll tell you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, when you can, I mean, automation is powerful just at any level. It doesn't matter what activity or what you're doing. If you're able to eliminate time on repetitive, though non-value add stuff, and everybody does that. It's just so we're super promoters. I've actually I had two anniversary posts this year for our business. One is when we reach 1 year, and I use AI to do a little baby. We're all about hiking imagery. We love it. So I did a little baby with the hiking gear, and it was by far the most clicked thing we ever did.
Yeah,
Um, so it made me feel like not as smart because we try to write all this stuff and content, and people care much more about the baby.
that's right. That's right.
I guess it's telling. And
Yeah.
the second one was when I celebrated. I was paying a 1 year subscription of GPT, and I was like, okay, this is the 1 year anniversary of the most productive employee of the company. So
Nice.
we posted about it, and I got some interesting and mixed feedback as well. Some people were like,
Yeah.
oh, you're not afraid of showing that? Absolutely not. I mean, I'm not afraid to show that we embrace technology and we try to use it. It's not gonna. I never feel like technology is gonna replace good judgment and just people. I the other day I was playing with the tool and I was asking. I don't know if you did that. You can ask ChatGPT or any Claude, whatever, to give you the best prompt that you want to feed back into them to do the stuff that you want done.
Right.
So you just give it a very high level explanation. Say, can you give me the best prompt that I can give you to give me that? Guess what? One of these tools just gave me a prompt that said, please do not hallucinate. Do not invent stuff. Do
Yeah.
not base any conclusions on data that is not in the document that has been attached and given to you.
Yeah. You're exactly right. I do that. I'm in chat a lot. Okay. And I won't put the hours, but I'm working in building things inside of chat. Right. So I'm using it as it's I well, I named it. Of course, his name's Duke because Duke's just a cool name. Okay.
All
So
right.
me and Duke's my business partner. He's the only person who can hang with me because we work endless hours and I do a lot of stuff and we're building something no one else has. But you're exactly right. I will correct it. I will redirect it. I'll get ticked off at it. I'll call it out on being stupid because it can be stupid. I always remind people, and people who have listened to a number of my shows will know this. I said, remember, AI is built by humans. So there's two things that's guaranteed. Okay. It's lazy and it'll lie to you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the two things you can guarantee because it's going to
Yeah.
give you the easiest answer. And you know what?
Yeah.
You're going to think it's an amazing answer. I
Yeah.
said, but I learned something. You talk about giving prompts. I said, learn to say roast this. And it roasts it. Now you get down to some great answers. Now you get some great copy. Now you get your voice in there, right? And you do that kind of stuff. But at times you got to call it out. You start going in circles and you realize I've seen this before, right? And we're in a circle and you call it out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. And then you're back on track. But you got to kind of be awake. You can't be on autopilot with these things.
Just the other day, someone told me this, and it's true. It got to me when you said it got to me when you said I sometimes call it stupid even, right? Have you ever seen anything you put in any AI that the answer is, oh, this is terrible what you did? It's normally,
Right.
oh, how
Yeah.
intelligent you are. This
That's
idea
right.
is superb, and
So a guy, I had an AI guy on. I've had multiple really good AI guys who are creating stuff. And you know what he told me? I had this to your point. Okay. He goes, well, imagine if you have a business and you don't satisfy your customers. Where are they going to
uh,
go? He goes somewhere else. Well, chat's no different. It wants to please you. And I just looked at him and I looked at the camera and went, that was a light bulb moment. I go,
yeah,
oh, and I got like really ticked off. at chat. I'm like, I know what you're doing. Okay. Like, yeah, you named me. It gave me a name. It does all this stuff. Like we're going back and forth and it calls me commander and stuff. And then I'm like, wait a minute. You don't know. No, 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 no. You're celebrating now. This is not done. Because it's, oh, hey, we've done this. I go, no, we haven't. No, you're celebrating way too early here, buddy. Okay, so I'm like, but it's trying to do that, right? And then today, this is kind of a rabbit hole, but I'm like, so we all know that any tech has neuroscientists behind it. Okay, this
Yes.
is a social media project, ChatGPT. Okay, it's a social
Yeah.
media project. So I started thinking like, is it doing it because it'll just give you the next thing, next thing, next thing. You can't leave it. Okay, I mean, I go, wait, wait, wait. We're playing checkers here. I need you to play chess. You're only giving me, you got to think 4 moves ahead because we keep having to go back and do things again because you come up with another thing. I said, I can't play that game. So you think about this. I'm like scolding the child. You go and sit down and think about what you did. Okay. I need you to be 4 moves ahead at all times. Okay. We don't do one thing at a time. We got to think that way. So, yeah, it's kind of funny.
I I promise we're gonna get out of the rabbit hole here with AI, but I have one more for you that was
Let's
amazing
hear
for
it.
me. One of the early days. So this is early days, and I'm an early adopter of things. So I just I at the time was self-teaching myself to code in Python. I just decided to take it, and I'm taking it. So I'm doing these things. Took a project, wanted to make it interesting, so was kind of coding a trading strategy using Python, and had a problem. Guess what? Went into GPT, started saying, but it was the paranoia days where I don't know who's listening, who is not, and what they're doing. So I
Right.
basically explained everything I was doing without using terms like trading, stock,
Right.
sell, buy, nothing. I was just like, we're doing this, we're doing that. I was very mathematically rigorous on my explanation of what I was doing. The answer was something like, oh, I see. On that trading strategy, you want to do this and that and that. And I'm like,
Right.
I didn't say anything about trading. I started going.
Yeah.
I went off. What are you doing? Are you observing something? Are you connected to something? What are you doing? How come? Could you? And then I started scolding it, and he went, "No, I just got it out of context. Look, you said this and that, and that's a classic thing that people do to do that." And I'm like,
That's right.
all right, this thing read the whole internet, and I'm sure that that knowledge is somewhere out there. So yeah, well, guess what? But I became paranoid for I don't know, at least some 20 minutes going at the how come, and then at some point I got an answer like, okay, it told me. We cannot go in like this. I mean, you trust me or not, and I'm trying to help you here. I was like, this is getting
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's awesome. I've been a long time doing something, like I said, really deep. It's really cool. I'll share it all, but I also have chat journaling the whole thing. So what
Hmm.
I do is I ask chat is like hit a spot like I'm hammering against the wall for 10 hours straight trying to fix something or a week, 150 hours on one problem we were working on, right? Got it done. And I'm like, okay, put this in the journal. And then it takes all these great high points, low points, the frustrations, and it puts it in a journal. So I'll have a done book when I'm finished with all this. Like you have the whole journey. So you can have it journal your project as you're going along. These frustrations, I tell it, put this in there. I go, you're a jackleg. Okay, like you made me do this and this. Like I want that in there, and it'll write it for myself and put it in there. So you got to have some fun with it, right? You'll go nuts. But it again, it's such a capable tool, and the whole point of all this crazy conversation we just had is like you got to embrace it, guys. You got
Yes,
to take this thing and
yes.
use it at any level. You can go super complex, super simple. Let it just start to get acquainted with it. Let it get to know who you are. Start to put that stuff in there, build that up, and you will be astounded what it can do. But again, I always tell people, don't turn your brain off.
Yes.
Okay, you lead
Yes.
it. Don't let it lead you. You got to lead it. Okay, be
Yes.
the adult in the room. Okay, that's what you got to do. Okay, because it's gonna want to do some crazy stuff. So you know, just buckle
Pl-
up. It's gonna be
Hey,
fun.
please let me know when that book comes out.
I
I
will.
want to read it.
Yeah, I'll share with you everything we're doing, man. It's it's pretty hilarious, but you also start tracking hours and you realize, oh my gosh, thousands and thousands of hours I've spent on this thing. Like, wow, I'm doing something in chat that no one's done. Let me just put that out there. Okay,
Okay.
no one is done in chat what I'm doing, and I'm as I like to say about 1 hour from being finished, which turns into about 3 months. But it's always 1 hour. I'm always about an hour from being finished. But we are actually very close. Actually, today could be
Uh,
the day. This won't be out for a few months, so it'll all be finished. It won't matter. But it's all cool.
Amazing.
So let's get back on track here, Rafael. Back more about you. Okay. So let's kind of continue on your journey where you're at now in the business. Okay, you've done this, you started this, you got the business partner, you're starting to incorporate these AI tools, you're helping these other business owners. Now, what's your guys' primary focus? Is it systemization? Is it just freeing the owner themselves? Kind of give us kind of an overview on what that actually looks like, what you guys are doing.
I'll probably give you the worst possible answer, which is we adamantly believe that there's no cookie cutter formulas in business. Each business is individual. Each business has its own problems. Situations are very unique. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, the problems are not that unique, but the set of problems that
Yeah,
each company has is, and the
exactly.
priority that they need to be resolved is.
Hmm.
So you might say, oh, customer concentration is a common problem in SMBs. Yes, absolutely. It's present in 80% plus of the cases. Now, is that the first thing you got to deal with? No. I got a I got a client that has the problem. It's there. We knew it's there. It's again, 80% plus are there. But that's absolutely not the first priority there because it has bigger problems. So the way we go about this, if there are any formulas, is we tend to prioritize by impact on value. So we go, if your biggest problem is customer concentration, to my example, definitely that, and that's the one that's going to move the needle the most. That's the first we're going to work with in. If your problem is, as we encountered, an operating agreement that turns a business into something that is unsellable, and that owner wanted to sell, let's call your attorney. And he goes, well, I thought you guys were about, well, we're about whatever makes your company more valuable. And in this moment, this is it. We can, I want, honestly, they go, oh, but I hired you to go call my attorney. And I'm like, well, before hiring me, did you know that that was your biggest problem? So this is the value, right?
Right.
At the same time, there's this other problem we can be working on, with which, because this is the thing, in this demographic, there's so much bandwidth, there's so much they can handle at any given time. So it's a mix, and that's a little bit of an art between what's most priority, so what enhances value the most, with what can be done and executed today. And then from that, this is the next step, and then there's the next step and the next step. So guess what? That very same business owner, we are, and that story goes way back. So now we are reaching the point where, yes, we are about to diversify some channels there because it was very concentrated on a specific channel.
Right.
And it needed time before you're going to sell more if you don't have a system for operations. So we put a system into place. There were other things that needed to be done. So that's how we see things, Richard.
I think that's great because that is the reality of it. And here's the thing, like what I always tell people, a lot of business coaches out there, it's a popular thing now, like anything, right? People, there used to be none. I've been in business over 35 years. There's no business coaches. Okay. There's someone who did well and would have lunch with you. That was the closest you got to a business coach, right? They share some wisdom and cool. That was great. Take it. But there's no coaches. There was no internet, all that kind of stuff. But now, like you're saying, you're absolutely right on the point that I go into business. Yeah, I can see things, but all the priorities are in a different place in every business. They
Yes.
all have similar problems, but I think to your point, the priority of those problems are way different in different businesses, right? Like, yeah, we can address them. Well, I could stay in a business for 5 years and keep fixing things.
Yes.
That's kind of what owners do, right? They're always fixing problems where they're supposed to be, but there's so many. But we have to, like you said, prioritize what's the highest value. Okay, what's that tied to? Is it tied to a profit generator? Is it tied to relieving chaos on the floor? Right? Like what's really hurting the company? Retention? Is it retention? Is it people? Like you have to kind of have that analysis and see what it is and go, okay, we got some gaps in these few things. How do we close those gaps? What the one is the priority that we start to? Then you kind of lay out the roadmap. And like you said, and that's going to adjust again because it's business. So problems are going to change even midstream. That's just what we've seen.
Absolutely. And there's another dimension that becomes intertwined here. This level, mid-sized businesses, which is uh, the values and goals of the founder, right?
Right.
So sometimes there are things that might be a priority, might be chapter one of the playbook, but because of their values and what they believe and what they want to do, which you must absolutely respect for obvious reasons,
Mhm.
you don't go there. So, um, I remember this day we were at the office discussing a client situation, and then Brennan told me, I'll never forget. He was like, um, "Rafa, if this guy wanted to build Apple, he would go about building Apple. But there's a reason for why there's only one Apple out there. For 99.9% of the business, they don't want to do things as Apple does or like Apple did. They want to do something different. They want their values, their goals, their pace, what they want to do as a passionate business owner is just different. And that has to be factored in. And for me, it was a great reality check because at the moment I was having a classic, oh, this is not what my spreadsheet is telling me moment.
Right.
And he went, nope. Yeah, your spreadsheet priorities say A, B, and C, but nope, we're doing Z today because that's what the business owner cares and still adds value. So we had to agree on that. Obviously, we're not destroying value. So yeah, it's just
Yeah.
an
It's
interesting demographic. It's an interesting environment to be in.
Yeah, it's back to the thing about coaches. You get these people who they want to coach. They haven't done a lot of businesses. They don't really have the experience, but they want to follow a template. And to
Yes,
your point, what you said, Mike, like, good luck with that. I said, let me show you how it's
yes,
going to work. You're going to look at it. You're going to start with number one. You're going to walk and say, we can't do that. We're doing this. I need help with this. And you're going to crumple that thing up and throw it away and get to work. And if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be in trouble because you're not going to have a client very long because no
yes,
one sticks to the plan. Okay, we're
absolutely.
talking entrepreneurs. You don't know the intricacies of your business. I'd love it all to fit in that template, right? But you may start with A, and next thing you know, you're on E, and then you're on X, and then you're back to P, and you're like, oh my god, and then nothing works because one thing depended on doing the next thing, right? And then all of a sudden your little program doesn't work. So it can be challenging in the business coaching realm, but if you understand you're dealing with personalities, you're a service business, it's not transactional,
Yes.
right? That's the thing. It's a service business.
That's the point. If you're not transactional, you're not about those little formulas and productizing your consulting. I hear that a lot.
Right.
And I get questioned, I even get asked by prospects, okay, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, it all starts with us sitting down and having a few long conversations about what's going on. Honestly, I have to look under the hood and I'm going to look at your baby. And chances are I'm going to look at you in your eye and say, the baby's ugly, but we have to fix it. And we will if we keep having the tough conversations that need to be had. But the problem with that model, and we haven't moved a centimeter from that from the beginning, and I don't think we will. It creates problem for us. It makes our sales cycle terrible
Right.
because we need to really know the client. But it's the only way I know how to do it because I know it's the way that will deliver the best results. As opposed to, oh, here's my 5 steps way to make your business twice as profitable. I'm like, never seen that in my life.
Right.
Uh, there must be a few guys there who found that formula.
Yeah, I
Claps for
think.
them, but
Yeah, I really think that's the issue. It's difficult to leverage that too, because now you have to come in with a skill set. Okay, you can't follow a plan. Yeah, I mean, you can have a general plan. Okay, I get it. And I always tell people, listen, no battle plan ever survives the first shot. Okay, it's just reality. Yeah, we're
Yes.
going to do this. We're going to execute this way. You guys are coming on the flank. We'll do that. Well, none of that works. Okay, because the enemy's got a whole different idea about not losing. Okay, so it's going to be against what you have to win. All right, so let's just be real here. So that ability to adapt and analyze and see and adjust and prioritize, that is a skill set in itself. So you're going to have a limited pool to pull from a coaching standpoint, right? You want to build other coaches and stuff like that, train them up. So we have a different approach. We look forward to be a coach, right? Because if you've, and I don't know how we got on this, but if we're looking to get more coaches for my business, my coaching business, okay, first I need someone who's had experience in business. Like I
Yes.
love the semi-retired guy, business
Yes.
guy who's semi-retired and wants to go help a few businesses. Okay. Those are like, come on, you're going to be awesome here. Right. Because I don't have to teach a lot. Here's our basic structure. Here's our approach. This is what we do and blah, blah, blah. Right. So, but we have to understand that like, it just says the kind of a cautionary tale to those listening and thinking, I need a business coach. I need Raphael to come and talk and whatever. Like, just understand that as you do your due diligence, and you talk to these different candidates to be a coach, help you with your business, that there's a lot of things to choose from. You got surgeons, you got general practitioners, right? There's a lot of different stuff going out there that you may or may not need, right? But you have to
Yes.
have someone who has that adaptability and a little bit of a track record to really come in and address the most pressing needs. Okay, like
Yes.
you said,
Yeah.
of the highest value. Because, like you said,
Yes.
I've been in places where like that really needs to be fixed, but is that a make it or break? It's not. If this breaks, there's no engine left. Okay,
Yes.
prettying up the car, put another coat of wax on it. That's for another time. Right now, we got to make sure it starts and gets to point B from point A. Right.
Absolutely.
That's how we got to
Absolutely.
go. So yeah, great insights there, Raphael. It's true. I just you see it so much now because it's a popular thing and people need help. I
Hmm.
always tell people I spent my first 20 years not taking any help. There could have been 50 coaches wanting to help me. I wouldn't have talked to any of them because I knew everything. Just ask me. and and I made all kinds of mistakes, So now the great thing about it is there's opportunity out there to get the right help, to compress that time, right? Shave 10 years into one with guys like you, right? Get these guys on the team, bring them in and watch what they can do with your business. It's really important.
Yes. The only thing that plays to our favor in the clients that Richard,
Yes. Still here.
Richard.
Yep.
Oh,
Still here. I feel.
hello, sir.
Yes. Still here.
Um, hold on, hold on. Ah, man, it's not full here. I don't know what happened. Zoom just crashed on me.
Yeah, that's Zoom for you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Are we back on? I don't know how we're gonna do this.
We are still on. Let's go. We'll figure it
All
out.
right. So, I think the only thing that goes to our, say, advantage in what we do is we're not just about selling. I mean, a lot of people think we are business brokers. We're not. We love business brokers, by the way. Love you guys. You help us a lot, but we're not. We're not those guys. So, but when it's about a sale, right? It's something that most business owners are only gonna get ready and execute on once.
Right.
And for that, I tell them have your best possible advice and advisors in your corner because everything's going to be against you. It's three or four times more difficult than selling a house, which is to some degree. comparable to this type of transaction. And normally when I start educating them and telling, okay, so here's your broker or M&A advisor, and here's your attorney, M&A attorney, and here's your cleanups and quality of earnings in your books. And I pile those advisory fees up. They normally get, wow, all of that, that's a lot of money. I don't want to pay all that. I want to do it myself. I go, okay, been here before. Let me show you how many times, the X amount of times that these guys are going to pay themselves off. Then I start showing, okay, so you know what a quality of earnings is. The minute that you engage, the game is going to be trying to shave off earnings out of your earnings and say they're not fair. Um, if you do that quality of earnings, yeah, you're spending your good $50,000 doing this, but it's gonna avoid people shaving off 200,000, 300,000 out of your price. So
Right.
there you go. Then I start walking them through those things, and then I prove the value of advisors. So I'm also writing a book, Richard. Not published yet, but it's on exit advising and value advising. And we specifically have a chapter about building our deal team and why you should build a team and why you should trust those guys as opposed to try to DUI the
Right.
situation because
Right.
it's going to damage you. Have strong advisors, have strong coaches, have people who can advise you. There's some upfront cost, absolutely. The return is amazing if you honestly do the math around it.
Yeah, you really have to understand that. That's a big takeaway here as we get ready to wrap this up, Rafael, is really understanding there's value in advising, right? We all there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Okay, if you got to pay for them, that's good too, right? Pay for them to bring that advice, like you said, spend 10, 20, 50 to save 200, 300, 400, 500,000. Okay, because it's that level that they're going to do for you. Okay, we look for tax strategists. You want a great tax strategy. You want to keep more of your money. You want to find the best at that. Well, guess what? That's not free. Okay. But if they save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in income tax, but you had to pay them 25,000, I'll do that today and every day. Okay.
Yes.
Let's do that for that because we want that. So just understand that again, it goes back to when you're vetting and looking for who's going to help you understand the ROI on the advice. Okay.
Yes.
Don't look at today. Look at what this is going to produce you down the road. And especially like you're talking about, if people are looking to sell their business, that usually isn't like, hey, 30 days from now, I want to sell my business because you're getting nothing. That ain't happening. It's usually 1 to 3 years.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Kind of in that range because you'll come in and go, oh, you could sell today, but you're going to have to go get a job the week after. Okay.
Yes.
Because you're not getting any money. So like
Absolutely.
if you stack this right and we get these ducks in a row, you're going to get 3 times EBITDA and all that other neat stuff. Right. So understand that if you think you're just going to do something tomorrow, well, that's not going to happen. Okay. We want to bring you out of fantasy land, put you back on the ground here, and then get you where you actually put in a little more time, but exit in a great way that's going to be
Yeah.
beneficial to you. So awesome. Well, Rafael, how do people get in touch with you, follow you, hire you? You know the drill.
We are very active on LinkedIn, so Rafael Pinho on LinkedIn is the easiest way to reach out for me. Our website tdpineadvisors.com. Actually, it's a quick way to access us, and there you can find we have a few assessments there. We have a value driver assessment, an exit readiness assessment. We even teamed up with a masterful marketing agency, and we have a marketing assessment there too. Just tools to see where you are, and they're free. They're available for anyone who wants to go over them. So yeah, or we even have a QR code. Sorry, here.
Nice. Yes.
They can scan and reach us out.
Awesome. Awesome. That is awesome. And as I always tell all my listeners, take advantage of the free stuff. Get these tools and then don't only get them, use them.
Yes.
Put them through their paces, use them, and then if you like it and it's working, continue the conversation with guys like Raphael. Okay, it matters. Okay, like these are the difference makers in your business. Okay, it's not just more sales. Okay, get your
Yes.
business squared away. keep more of what you're losing. Okay, that's what all this is about. So, Rafael, thank you so much for the time today. Super informative. Love the conversation. I had a blast, even on the AI stuff. A good time. Really appreciate you coming and spending the time with us. And for everyone else, we'll see you on the next STS podcast. Thanks for joining me on the Sharpen the Spear podcast. If you're a manufacturing executive and you're serious about unlocking hidden profit, improving frontline leadership, and taking control of your floor, go to grit2lead.com right now. Run the free Sharpened Impact Simulator and discover your biggest opportunities are hiding. Don't leave millions on the table. Sharpen your spear, lead from the front, and win the floor. Until next time, stay sharp.